Hello everyone. Welcome. I'm Jon Binnie, your spiritual psychic mentor, professional spiritual psychic mentor, full-time here in Scotland. And I'm delighted today to channel messages from beings from across this universe, including my spirit guides who are from across this universe, Mother Gaia, the soul of Mother Earth. And I often I will be inviting in today and asking for messages, opening it up to the sun, Sol, and the moon, Luna, and also other beings I work with, such as Archangels. So I'm excited today. I was very strongly guided to create today's video, and you probably already know what it's about because you've read the title of this video, or should I say the title of this video. For me, it's much more open, so I'm excited to go on this journey and discover what powerful messages are due to come through with us. Now, just before I start, I have slightly underestimated the heating required as we enter the winter here. So you'll notice I'm wearing my hoodie. It is currently 57 degrees Fahrenheit in my studio. So that's warmed up quite a bit already. So it's now up to 14 degrees Celsius. So it's getting there. Bless you, Patch. Patch, my dog, sneezing for some reason. Okay, so let's go ahead and create a safe space, and then we'll be inviting in messages. And I also have my laptop down below me, just here to help work through any of the questions that you've been putting in. Okay, let's get started. So please join me as we create this safe space. It's so important for us to create strong, clear, energetic boundaries around us so that I don't invite in any messages from any beings that don't serve our highest good, and that you don't accidentally interpret or pick up energies and messages from others that don't serve your highest good. So let's take a deep breath in through the nose, nice and deep. And breathe out what no longer serves our highest good, nice and loud. Breathe in through the nose, nice and deep. And breathe out any fear, shame, anxiety, or pain, nice and loud. And breathe in through the nose, nice and deep. And breathe out any remaining low vibration energy or emotion that no longer serves you, nice and loud. And continue to breathe deeply and calmly as it feels right for you. And focus your attention on the center of your heart, where your golden divine spark enters your human form. And from the center of your heart, extend a cord of light up through the top of your head and reach up into the sky and up into the stars, all the way up to the highest frequencies and dimensions of this universe, until you reach the highest dimension of the source of love of this universe. And there, connecting your light cord into the highest dimension of source, feeling that oneness, unity, and unconditional love, that feeling of home. Remain connected into source and extend your light cord down to the stars and sky, back down to the top of your head and into your heart once more. And now, as you allow your heart to gently soften and open, extend a cord of light downwards, down through the base of your spine and deep into the earth, all the way down through the layers of the planet, going deeper and deeper until you reach the very core of Mother Earth, and there connecting your light cord into Mother Gaia's crystalline heart. And we send Mother Gaia so much love at this time. Allow her to send her love back. Remain connected into Gaia's heart and extend your light cord back up through the layers of the planet, up through the root of your spine and into your heart once more. And now, together with the light of Source above, Mother Gaia below, and your own golden light, expand a golden bubble of protective light from the center of your heart to surround you about 2 meters out to each side, above and below, in front and behind you, surrounding all aspects of you. And set the clear intention that only energies and entities with your permission, with your highest good, love and compassion can see you, access you, or exist within this space or within you, and that all other energies and entities must leave immediately. Into your safe space, invite in your spirit guides, your higher self, Archangel Michael, Archangel Raphael, Source and Gaia, and ask at this time for their guidance, clearing, healing, protection, and assistance with the integration of today's session. And now, through space and time, I create a golden protective bubble around all of us engaging with this video across space and time. And I set the intention for this protective space that only energies and entities with my permission and the highest good, love and compassion of all can see us, access us, or exist within this session space or within us. All other energies and entities must leave immediately. And into today's session space, I invite in my spirit guides, my higher self, Archangel Michael, Archangel Raphael, Source and Gaia, Sol and Luna. And we ask today at this time for their assistance with messages for all those that choose to engage with this video and for humanity. Upcoming changes that we need to be aware of for our highest good. Opportunities for us to learn and to grow and to empower ourselves to navigate through these turbulent times, together with support of answering your questions and any other messages that will help the highest good of all. And so it is. But first, a little bit of coffee. I'm back. Okay, you may have heard Patch digging around underneath me. He's settled down. He's next to the heater. He's nice and warm. I'm a little bit envious of his nice papillon fur coat. Okay, so let's first of all begin with the really powerful message that came to me this morning in meditation. And I was shown that there are continued releases of emotion from Mother Gaia. So this emotion, and I've spoken about it, it's been a continued theme through these predictions videos since August, has been this continued releasing of anger and rage. And Mother Gaia was showing me that perhaps what's not obvious to us is our future emotions. And so she was describing to me this morning that there's this shift as some of us are starting to get quite triggered and fired up more than we were previously. Some of the triggers for that, we heard about predictions for truths being revealed. And I don't know what it's like in the US, but in the UK, one of our, big news stories is this kind of reignition and focus on Prince Andrew and the Epstein files, and then also our own police. And so these news articles, and you can go and research all that yourself about what's being pushed out there, at least what's being shown at the moment, is that it is starting to create, Mother Gaia is saying it is starting to trigger more anger energy within her. And so this needs to be released. And I feel that that's something I didn't really I wasn't consciously aware of that. I felt that it was almost like we'd been suppressing a lot of this anger and rage, and maybe you guys picked up on it more than I did. But it was kind of news to me that this is something that we continue to feel. And it is okay. It's okay for us to feel angry. It's okay for us to feel fearful, rageful. these emotions are healthy for us to observe, to identify, and to acknowledge. And then the next stage of releasing. So let's put it, I'm going to keep, hold that thought, because this is a kind of preamble to the very clear message that my spirit guide, Maya, an earth elemental, gave me today, which is that, and let me just connect in with her so I can ask for more clarity as I share this again. So Maya's drawing us to the great changes that are happening right now, that they're happening now across the planet. She says, truth, the revelations, so the releasing of truth, the emotion that this generates, and the releasing of that emotion. For some reason, my fingers aren't quite working. 4 there, okay. All right. Maybe it's the cold. Thank you, Maya. And the message is that perhaps you'd like to join me. Let's do this little short practice. Just takes a few seconds together. So let's take a nice deep breath in that feels comfortable to you, in through the nose. And as we're breathing in, we're shining the light force of this love energy into our hearts, shining a light on our shadows and our fears. And now release those shadows and fears really loud as you can. And just return to your breath normally. And Maya explains that across the world at this time, these great changes, and I will come on to these in a bit more detail, these great changes are triggered, they are created really by us. And whether we're consciously doing this or not, whenever we experience something outside of us, we have a reaction inside. We kind of like, we just, we immediately react to what's going on outside of us. And so to this extent, we have been, and this is a horrible term that Maya's using, I've never heard this term, fear farmed. So there's a concerted effort to generate fear within us and for other beings. So these are low vibration beings to feed off of our fear. So this fear farming. Wow, that's not a title. It's not a label that I enjoy. And so Maya says that in this short practice, you have the ability when you're breathing in. So first of all, breathing in deeply starts to break you out of fight or flight, because when we're in fear, our lung capacity shrinks. Often our bodies like hunch over, almost like we're trying to protect our organs and our heart from being harmed physically and energetically. And then there's this feeling of our hearts and our heart chakras closing. So like the heart chakra like squeezing together. And as we do that in fear, we become, a perfect kind of fear battery, just like in the Monsters, Inc. Kids movies. We become this place that stores fear energy, right? And so the first rebellion against that is a deep breath. And it's just so simple, right? I love that all the solutions really that we need in this life, they're really, really simple. None of this is complex. And so that's a key indicator I'm always looking for in any of my practices and anything I do is simplicity, flexibility, durability, clear intentions, something nice and simple, right? And so a nice deep breath in, through the nose, we're filling our lungs. And we're also the life force of the energy around us, the prana, we're bringing in through our nostrils, and we're shining the light, with that life force and our own light, our own conscious awareness into our hearts. So we're shining into those deep, dark corners, those shameful parts of you that you're hiding from yourself, hiding from others, hiding intermittently from yourself, like whatever it is that you're doing with your own shadows, your own fears, and we're shining a light into it. And then for of those shadows, of those fears in your heart, for the ones that must remember to breathe, for the ones that you're ready to release, you're breathing out real loud, and you're releasing those. So the biggest experience that we need to go through as humanity is the identification of our own fears, our own shadows. So the things that lurk within our hearts. And you may have spent a lot of time in your life looking at the rest of humanity thinking, there's a lot of crap that needs to be sorted out, insert your own swear words, a lot of crap that needs to be sorted out in this world, in this planet. All those other people, they need to like sort their crap out. And the reality is that like, we're all in this together. So Maya said to me, the next message was, it is all of humanity that it is a family. We are one family. And I don't mean that in some sort of kind of, spiritual bypassing, love and light only, way. I mean it. I mean, we are all related, right? We're all one species together. And those that are fear farming us want us to be scared of everything, right? All they want to do is keep coming up with new things to keep us scared. And they will seek the very things, the very foundations of our reality to make us fearful, right? And that includes being scared of our friends, family, loved ones, humanity across this world, right? So the more we can be divided, the less powerful we are, the easier we are to manipulate, the easier we are to farm the energy of. More coffee. And if you wonder why I kind of disappear off camera when I'm drinking, it's because I just gently mute myself as I gulp and also put the cup down as well. Okay. So please keep in mind that we're all a work in progress. Me included, I'm a work in progress. Hi, it's John. I'm a work in progress. And none of us are perfect. You might find it hard to believe, right? I get angry, I get frustrated, I get triggered. I'm human too. It's a big part of my journey, right? To be here on earth with everyone else and going through these challenges, like we had all these big events like lockdowns, and now we've had, increased solar activity and earth events and weather events, and now interstellar objects and what's coming up. I've been doing videos over the weekend. Do watch my driving videos. If not all of you enjoy the background noise, it's quite funny. I was listening back to one of them yesterday, and I just loved it. To me, I quite liked all that white noise in the background and the rattling around, which is totally unexpected because I'm such a perfectionist with sound. Anyway, these things that are coming up for us, including, Three Eye Atlas and its proximity to Earth, the changes that we experience with predictions such as some of you are asking about when is the 3 days of darkness. And, I've heard some people predicting earlier, everyone's open to their own free will and each of us individually get to choose. When I was asking yesterday about it, I was asking Sol yesterday about it. And, these events are coming up later in the year, into December. I can ask for an update, right? It's always good to check in and ask for an update. But before we go on to those, I just want to use these examples because they are triggering, right? They have trigger energies in them, and they're fear triggers, right? So if you want to farm a bunch of humans, right, develop this kind of, it's like weaponizing fear so that it triggers these emotions within us. So our brains are already highly programmable, right? So it's very easy to then take the mind and then inject our hearts with these fearful energies. And it may shock you as you work through this life journey and face fears and do healing, because the transformation in your life can be astounding, right? As you step through the other side of the door, a bit like when people have near-death experiences or they're actually on their own deathbeds and they look back to their life and think, why did any of that stuff matter, right? It's my self-love, my loved ones, like these are the most important things in my life. Okay. So this breath that we take within us and the facing of the shadows within us really allows us to go through that first key step of identifying these fears, and they exist within us. Why would we look within us first? We look inside of us first because this is how we generate, humanity is you and it's me. It's all of us combined together as a collective. And from my experience, around 80% of it depends, it varies for each one of us, but around 80% of our conscious energy goes into focusing on us as an individual incarnation, and there's about 20% overlap with with the rest of the collective consciousness of humanity. And so every time you change something within you, you affect all of humanity. And I know, this video, like, I don't know if it'll reach all of humanity or not. Not even all of humanity has access to digital devices, right? What I would say is that we also don't need to affect the entire human race. But what we do need to do is encourage ourselves, empower ourselves, and empower as much as we reasonably can of the human race to face those shadows and fears within us. And some of the single biggest aspects of today's message is focus on, first of all, that acceptance that we are in a stage of change, great change. Okay, nothing's ever going to be the same as it was yesterday. Tomorrow is going to continue to change more and more. These videos, if I was to predict my predictions, right, these videos that I'm creating will continue to expand in their scope and their impact. I'm not talking necessarily about the number of people that watch it. I mean the energetic coverage and the coverage of reality. And why? It's because we're learning within us how to connect more deeply with the outside by facing these aspects within us. And then secondly, our ability to traverse the changes, so to allow the changes to happen, because let's face it, if a planet is angry, if a human and a human race is angry, that anger needs to be seen, it needs to be witnessed by all of us, and it needs to be faced, felt, forgiven, apologized to, released, and loved, and the lessons learned. And so the cycle will continue, and then we'll go back to anger and rage. But hopefully each time we go through these cycles of anger, they will get easier, right? And they do. I mean, in my personal experience, all these things get easier. At very least, you get better at the practice of facing them. Like, oh, I'm shocked at this anger, this trigger, this fear that I experience around me. Okay, now it's time to go through a process with it. Just like you do when you see a loved one get angry at you and you're like, what, you're like, what have I done? And, the first thing that's so helpful to say is that I see you, I feel, I understand that you're angry. I understand it. I see it. Okay. And then this releasing And I often ask, like, where does all the energy go? But where does all the energy go? So for example, when we release negative energy, where does it go? Like, does it just disappear? And Maya is saying to me, first of all, it's better out than in. And then secondly, she says, it does dissipate. There are natural processes. So for example, for us, as we release it into the air around us, if you ever wonder why it's important for oxygen, we breathe from oxygen, right? We also get, even when there's plenty of oxygen in a room, we often feel like stuffy, and we want to have a constant flow of energy. And Maya is saying this is this is why we often want to release energy out of our homes, out of the rooms we're in. And when it needs to get outside, and when it's outside, or if it's initially released outside, then the weather processes can pick this up as well. So a lot of this is about the energy being released up into the atmosphere, and then working through, we heard in other videos, the negative energy, collecting in clouds, the clouds raining down into earth, the energy within the water. We know that water stores a lot of energy, release it into the earth, and then it can be transmuted by Mother Gaia, go through the water systems of the earth and below the earth, and then also our oceans, rivers, etc. So I don't need to teach you about nature, but just about that energetic cycle. We're releasing it to the cycle, which I really love. Thank you. Okay, we had we're in 26 minutes in. We had some tantalizing kind of what's going to happen moments. So let me ask Mother Gaia and my spirit guides about what's coming up. And I'm just going to help. I'm just asking for my spirit guides to just help me clear my conscious mind and the connection I have with them. Of any of the previous videos that I've done, anything that I've heard from others, I want to have a really nice, clear, blank canvas to receive what's coming up next. Some other guy is coming forwards, and she says, you already feel a turmoil and chaos energy. She says, please, Gaia says, please don't become too accustomed to that, because if anything, you begin to get a bit kind of numbed, like very used to the chaos. And so she said, let's first acknowledge that you are in a period of heightened change. And she's showing me, it's interesting, she's showing me what looks like a craft. It's quite small. This is a craft entering our atmosphere, a spacecraft. It is about the size of two buses. I know buses vary in different countries quite dramatically, but it's that order of magnitude. And it's if you're to see it with your own eyes, it would appear like it's coming down. Initially, you might look at it thinking, "Oh, this is a shooting star." It's like it's something, but you realize actually that it's burning up, and there's a little bit of a colored trail behind it. And this ship that's coming down, it seems to be in some kind of trouble. It's not like an all-out crash landing. There's like partial control. It is coming down to Earth. And one of the challenges is that because it's partially under control, it's coming down to Earth at a relatively slow velocity. And so it's seen by many. It's in a heavy populated area that it's witnessed. And interesting. So I don't know the area. Mother Gaia is saying it's Illinois. And she said, I really want to look up like a Google Maps and see what's around it. But what she was showing me is outside of Illinois, there's this, because this ship does not want to land in a populated area. It's trying to land outside of the populated area. So it seems to be landing. It's like what do you call it? A semi-controlled, like a controlled crash landing into a more rural area, but it's close. Like its flight path as it's come down over Illinois. And she says that there's great secrecy about this craft. Like it was never meant to have been shown. Okay. And I did just look up a map because I was really interested. Because one thing you can do is you can do this yourself, right? You can just look at a map and feel intuitively, ask your spirit guides, ask your higher self, ask your heart, like, where and what. Okay. Okay, so I'm being shown this is over towards the east. What's the area called? It's so funny when I look up these places. There's actually a place here that's called. It must be, I'm guessing, named after a village near where I live in Scotland. So it's a place. I'm just being shown a place called Penfield, and it is towards the east side of Illinois. So yeah, really, really fascinating. Let's try not to stand on patch. This is how to describe it? This craft is a collaboration between extraterrestrials and humans. So it's very much a kind of smoking gun. It literally, when I was seeing it coming out of the sky, it was like smoking. It's had a fault, but there's a lot of colors coming out the back of it. So it attracts a lot of people out with their phones, taking videos, and it feels quite soon. This is within the next 3 weeks. Let me just ask, is there a date? We always love dates as humans. Is there a current predicted date, Gaia? She says, well, it is an accident. It's a fault. She said, it's actually very hard to predict exactly when. And she says it just, it's not so much that we will notice in the short term how powerful that event is. It's that we will look back on it in the future, a bit like the Roswell events. We will look back at that and say, that was a powerful event in our history, in the journey of contact and lack of disclosure and a little bit of disclosure. So yeah, in the next 3 weeks, it does feel like currently she's saying by the 9th of November, which is just two weeks. So it'd be the 2nd in 1 week and the 9th. Let me just double check that. Is it 2 or 3 weeks, Guy? Oh, she's saying 2 to 3 weeks. Okay, so between the 9th and 16th of November. Okay. And she says, what's intriguing, first of all, is that it captures a lot of public interest because a lot of very high quality footage is captured. And there's, a somewhat predictable response of a lot of people being told, oh, it's a satellite. Oh, it's just this constant narrative. Oh, it's something you already know about, or it's an advanced satellite, or even an advanced craft, which is closer to the truth. And Gaia says, what's fascinating is it's not meant to exist, right? It is a collaboration the collaboration is the ship was intended, its purpose is to help clear up a lot of the dark matrix, so a lot of ancient, more negatively focused technology around Earth's atmosphere, which is being cleared up. And it's been doing that for some time. It's a collaboration between extraterrestrials and humans. So the actual ship itself does include on board humans and extraterrestrials. So it's like this literal smoking gun of, well, we're not even meant to know about you guys, and here we are working with you on a ship together. And I remember that from my, astral travel, lucid dreams to 3i Atlas, is that both humans and extraterrestrials are on board. And it when we hear this, right, I'm like, why don't they tell us? Why don't they just come clean and share these truths? And yet it's like this whole lack of disclosure thing has gone on far too long. And you can see why. You can see how annoyed our extraterrestrials, our family, are, because they're like, you guys you're already doing it, and you just all you do is have a huge disinformation practice where you're just suppressing the truths and pretending that none of this is happening, whereas actually it's been going on for a long time now. Okay. There's not, if for any of you that are worried or living in the area, even in or near Penfield, just to say that there's not a threat. There's not a threat to human life because this, or in fact any wildlife, because this is actually moved. They're able to navigate the ship to land safely, or should I say crash land safety, controlled crash landing. But some people do witness it up close, and some people, because they see it as a visible craft, it's not saucer shaped. This reminds me more of, because I described it in length as a bus. Or two buses, sorry. It's like two buses, and it does have some wings, like shorter wings. Kind of aerodynamically, they're impossibly short wings, but they do exist. Like they look quite stumpy. Okay. And Gaia says, please do. She says, watch your emotions for this and any other similar events. She said there are other events happening all the time, such as as some space debris is being cleared up in our atmosphere, space debris, human waste debris, so our own space activity, and also the dark matrix. So if you're wondering about all these terms about matrix, dark matrix, please watch the video I posted just a couple of days ago about the matrix, right? It's in the title. It's me driving, goes into tons of detail. So please just scroll down in my videos and take a look at that video. And Gaia says, so the clear up, if you like, so first of all, releasing of anger and rage from down below, from underneath the surface of Earth, needs to continue to happen. And then also from up above, we also need a clearing of, because the atmosphere, including the orbit of Earth, is the aura of Gaia. And she says she's just tired, sick and tired of beings like using her like some sort of dumping ground, including what humans have been doing, and then also more extraterrestrial focused with the dark matrix and the node craft that are there. So she says more of that will start to fall down to Earth. Not all at the same time, right? Just we'll start to see more and more, and we'll probably see them. I'm just being shown visuals of like trails of little, what we see is like little meteors coming down. They're small. A lot of it's quite small craft, certainly no bigger than a car, a UK car at that. Let's get more coffee. Okay, I did not expect to go so specific with one event. Gaia just says, just like Roswell, there are, key turning points in our collective consciousness, right? So it doesn't, we often just assume as humans that it needs to be like big and cataclysmic and it could be undeniable. No, sometimes these things are small events with, small crafts or plate areas affected. It's just what I keep being shown over and over and over is lots of these little videos people are posting online and sharing with each other about, really like high, like 4K videos close up of craft that we're not meant to have, where they're not meant to exist, and including the beings, so glimpses of extraterrestrials working with humans. And I know there's lots of AI fake videos out there of that happening. You'll know, right? You'll be able to use your heart's discernment, just place your hand on your heart and say, heart, is this video real? Is it authentic? And are these beings within it extraterrestrial along with the humans? Like, just ask yes, no questions to your heart. Okay, let's also ask what else is coming up, perhaps at more global level. Mother Gaia, my spirit guides. So being shown further seismic, so geological activity. Yeah, so there is pressure coming from, and Sol, the sun, is just starting to speak a little bit as well. So there's a build-up of pressure through this week. So this is solar activity, and this continues on. So this is the intention of Sol. So Sol is saying, I'm going to push more energy over the next 3 weeks in particular. It felt like 4, but 3 to 4 weeks. And it's a continued release. So this is a release of ascension wave energy. These are very high vibration, high intensity waves that we can't yet measure with our own scientific instruments, because they don't just exist in the third dimension. They spill up into fourth and fifth dimension. They are, after all, ascension waves. So they exist in like the layers of the onion, just like an ogre. Don't forget me, John. So just like the third and fourth and fifth. And so these are happy, high vibration waves. They flow from the central star of the universe, which is the largest physical and metaphysical manifestation of source love energy, flowing out through the heart. So the heart chakras of our own stars, like the star at the center of the Milky Way, and also the star in our star system, the sun, Sol. So Sol saying, Sol does have consciousness, right? Isn't just a floating fireball, right? So Sol can say, I will hold on to some energies, and I also like store it up, like buffer it up, and then release it when they need to. And this is in a constant conversation with Mother Gaia and also Luna, the moon. And Sol is saying, I love his energy. He's saying, I've got to release this. I've already been releasing it for over a week now. And I did have, just in this last week, quite intense migraine experience. And I spoke about that. I think was it my tree, psychic tree talk video last week. And just before I went driving for 24 hours, Thursday, Friday, and you saw the videos into yesterday as well, is that was a big shift for me. And I know many people have been saying that was an intense period of migraines. So Sol says, do look out again for this increasing activity, and please, walk barefoot on the ground, get plenty of rest, drink as much water as it feels right for you, touch trees, connect with nature, invest in your own self-care and your own self-love. It'll really, really help you. Ta-da! Surprise. I just took my hoodie off because it was getting quite hot. So, Sol is saying that there's this incredible release of energy. So let's all look after ourselves. Release. We can allow these ascension energies to flow through us, just like we allow other energies like electrical energy to flow through us safely and release into the earth. And it's exciting. I'm just feeling that, opening of our hearts. The more open your heart is, the more relaxed and joyful and excited you feel about this change, especially these ascension energies, then the easier it is. So I'm just being shown that, really lovely practice, just as we heard at the in our safe space setup 45 minutes ago, is just taking a deep breath in through the nose and allowing your heart to become nice and open. So I imagine my heart as a nice big sphere, and it's opening up very gently. And it's a heart is safe to open, then release anything that doesn't serve you. And Soul says that the more open your heart is to receive, the easier it is to allow this energy to flow through you. And so the less ascension symptoms you have. If you're ever catching yourself in fear, if you're having any migraines, some people have ringing in the ears gets really loud. Sometimes you get pressure in the head and the jaw. Sometimes people feel dizzy. There's lots of different ways. We all react uniquely. And so really, keeping a nice focus on your self-care routines, your self-love, daily meditation, exercise, and loving on yourself is such a beautiful way to carry you through this change. Now, the whole reason Soul showed this increase in activity over the next 3 to 4 weeks is that it places more pressure. So it is I think we call it like a solar wind, right? It does create, greater pressure pushing onto the atmosphere and then onto the surface of the planet, onto the crust. So again, it is a center of continued activity. I know geological activity, seismic activity, it happens all across the earth. It's always happening all the time. Sol was showing me specifically towards the Pacific, and this kind of like for the tectonic plate around the Pacific, this kind of gentle like movement, a bit like the lid of a paint pot on top of the paint pot as you like kind of put it on. It's kind of gently like moving around, and so he's saying he's consciously working with Gaia to minimize the kind of the venting and to help, or all venting in one place. Because he says he keeps telling Gaia to release more and more energy. If anything, Soul is more pro a quick release and then getting us to kind of, recover a bit, like kind of ripping off the Band-Aid, right? And then going, oh, that was sore. And like, oh, actually, it's not that bad. And I actually feel much better. Like, oh, I'm so glad I got that off. And so that's Soul's more towards that end of the spectrum. And Gaia is saying, but I look after all the humans, she's saying, and all the living things. She says, I want to really balance everything out. So just being aware of this increased seismic activity, especially around the Pacific ring of fire. Just knowing that we'll see other YouTubers, other people reporting. Those of us that live around those areas will feel more of a release. And one thing that I've not didn't come through in that direct message, but I just keep being told over and over. And this was a prediction I did. I'm not sure, maybe it was like 6 weeks ago. And it was seeing activity off of the UK, about within a 500 miles range west, so out into the Atlantic. 500 miles, not that far out, right? But just this feeling of release in an area that we don't usually expect it, and that just keeps coming back to me. And it's not because, well, maybe some of it's consciously because I'm like, whatever happened to that prediction about? I'm never going to remember all these predictions, right? I'm never going to remember every single thing. which is why I love cataloging these predictions in these videos so much. It's just, this is also coming up for us around this same time. And Saul's just showing me it's because, when one side of the earth is affected, it affects all aspects of the earth, including the opposite side of the planet. And it's quite funny because we often look at the earth as a two-dimensional map, even on, Google Maps. I was trying to think of another term. So just paying attention to the cause and effect. And Gaia says, please, John, please don't panic all the humans. Just that this is a shorter term kind of energy report, if you like, on the next 3 to 4 weeks. And this is a whole period. Remember, Gaia started by saying this is a whole period of change, of chaos and turmoil. So just being aware that this is constantly happening and will continue to happen in bursts and waves for months. And let me ask about the days of darkness, right? Is there any update specifically on 3 days of darkness? I know my video in the last couple of days talked about this being 2 weeks. So Saul is showing me, Saul says it's really up to Saul about when this occurs, because it's Saul's choice to directly affect Gaia, in particular with Ascension energies. And yes, so I was being shown this time frame now. I was shown, and this is news to me, I was shown that there will be the first pulse, right? Almost like not a warning, but like an alert, like saying, hey, there's going to be an outage. It's going to be caused by the sun's activity, and it's going to be short. It's going to be short-lived. And this is like a kind of warning, like, hey, humans, wake up. Like, we're like kind of turning on and off the light, saying, we do have control over your electrical systems, right? So pay attention. Here's a quick on-off to make sure you're aware of it. So this does seem to be ready to happen within this next 3 to 4 weeks. However, it's quite short-lived. It feels like it's in the hours, right? And it's much, much lower intensity than what happens later. So it's not like burning out loads of circuits. It's more like a kind of, it causes some local level overloads. Okay, I find these terms quite difficult to translate from, as Gaia describes them in human terms to me. She was saying, John, if sometimes we get lightning strike. I've had it here where I lived before, where like a substation has been hit by lightning, and it causes, it's caused like 6 hours or something of a power outage. But not all of our town. I live in a small town on the east coast of Scotland. Not all of the town is affected by the substation going down, and it's recovered quickly. Like the teams know to go out and what components to replace. So I'm not saying it's not lightning strikes that will be hitting us, right? It's just an increase, like it feels like an electromagnetic pulse energy in smaller local pockets that makes us wake up and think, okay, this is a good time for me to know what it's going to be like when it happens. So it's like a preparation. And it gives us time, because there's still time into December. What will still be, anything up to a month or two after that period to then experience, prepare for a longer period. So making sure we have shelter, food, water, just the essentials we need to get through it. And it's lovely, actually, because I don't know why I feel so grateful for this. Let me know in the comments if you feel grateful for it. But I feel like rather than a kind of very rude awakening to the fragility of our what feels like our life support systems. I really felt that energy from many of you commenting on my recent videos, is that you feel that you will that it's incredibly difficult to survive without electricity. And the reality is, it's not as hard as we think, but it does require, because we're so dependent on it now, it does require some preparation, basic preparation. Having, we heard, like filling your bathtub with water if you experience a power outage, making sure you have water containers to safely store water for just a few days, right? It doesn't need to be for too long. Having things like tins. You don't need to cook every tin, right? You might prefer to have it hot, right? But you don't have to have cooking facilities for everything. And also, there's food that doesn't require refrigeration. I'm not like a big shopper, but I did notice that when I go to, we have a local Walmart, or it certainly used to be owned by Walmart. When I go there and just don't buy from the fridge section and the freezer section, there's actually a lot of food that isn't in those aisles. And you can start to, you find food. I often find like wraps and, what do you call it? Like, they're not, I don't find them very tasty, but it's almost like space food, like these kind of freeze-dried foods, or foods you hydrate. And boil water, like these are the things you could look into. And also camping stoves are really, really cheap. Like there must be something like $20 or £20, like a little one with a single hob and a little gas canister, things like that they make a huge difference. So just really simple, basic preparations. And yeah, keeping yourself warm, knowing how to, get all your duvets and blankets into one room overnight, sharing a room with loved ones, etc., where you share the same home with them, and sharing body heat in the same room. All these things all help. And it's a bit of an adventure, right? Now it's so easy. I feel you, right? It's so easy to just leap into fear and go, oh no, think of all the things I won't have. Think of all the things you will have, right? And you'll still have more than likely our ancestors have ever had, right? They didn't, many of our ancestors didn't have roofs, or if they did, it was like a roof on the ground and a dugout, they dug out under the ground. We don't have to go and live in what we call bivouacs or bothies or ruins of buildings. Like the world won't collapse in this period, right? So just gentle, reasonable preparation, and have a think about how you'll look after yourself for a few days. And I know there's this feeling of between a few days and 2 weeks, and there's a big difference, right? Yet you'll feel it after the first 2 or 3 days. Your feeling of your own, what's the word? Independence, right? Because that's what's quite fascinating about this whole experience, is that if you think about the way that we are dependent on the electrical systems around us, especially in the West, you realize that for those that control those systems, they control part of us, right? They control, and we have to pay huge prices now in the UK for fuel, including electricity. They want you to be connected to this matrix, right? They want you to feel fearful that it might break, and to do everything you can, and including being scared about it, to support these systems. And the reality is, you can gradually over time create more and more independence, even if you just know, for example, if you knew, well, I could survive quite easily 24 hours with no electricity with these simple steps. And if I come across some videos I really resonate with, or if you have some videos that you'd like to share, especially with the energy and the intention of the person creating it, it doesn't need to be, practically scientifically perfect, but just becoming aware of some basic preparations you can make the literal world of difference. Okay. So yeah, just to reiterate, that was a kind of early alert in the next 3 to 4 weeks. Thank you, Sol, for that. And then Gaia reminding us that later into December is when we'd experience several days and up to about 2 weeks. I think I heard like up to 14 days. Okay. And Gaia says, I mean, you can keep asking Jon. She says you will. She says she says you'll always get our best answer. And she's talking about her family, Sol, Luna, herself, my spirit guides, me, Jon as well. Everyone, like we will all give our own best answers each time. And she says that the flexibility, if you like, and what's open to interpretation in what I say and communicate. She's talking about me, Jon. She's saying this is also intentional because she says she wants us to, be asking, what does Jon mean about the fear, the shadow inside of me? Why do I need to face this inside of me? What about all those other people around us? What are those things I'm hiding from myself? She wants us. Gaia is encouraging us to be, intrigueful doesn't sound like a word. To be intrigued, right? To be curious and to look and discover within us. Okay, thank you. And I know we're just over an hour, so I'll just keep this really quick. There was a couple of questions I wanted to answer, so I did already just choose the first one. Randomly. Thank you. Keep your questions coming. Just put them into the link pinned in the comments. And the first one is from Gracious Guidance. I love your YouTube name. Thank you. It says, as we enter the time of the split for dimensions and density, and we're experiencing 4th, 5th density, will we see or be in contact with others who have chosen 3rd density? Most won't realize their choice. What will this transition look like? Okay. So the latter part, the transition part, I've shared a lot of videos about that just over the last few days, especially driving videos. So feel free to take a look at that. Even the Matrix video, you get an understanding of it. The latter part about the transition. To the question of will we see each other and be in contact with others, let me ask. So my mantis guide, Marita, has come forwards, and she says, first of all, when you're up, you can see everything. Down. So because she's talking about herself, she's saying, Jon, I'm in 5th dimension. She says, I can see all you guys. So she can look down. You can look just like being on the top of a mountain. It's that funny thing of like when you're on top of a mountain, you get a beautiful view, right? And yet when you're down on the ground and you look up to the mountain, it's so hard to see a teeny weeny tiny little person, or in this case, even a 7-foot tall extraterrestrial mantis, Marita. She's saying 7.5 foot, Jon. Okay, thank you. So she says, we will be able to look down and see people, and the people that are more fearful and in lower vibration and density, depending on the distance, vibrational distance. So depending how fearful, shameful, angry, how much you're kind of caught up in your fear and your own shadows and what's going on in the rest of the world. When you're down at my hands are purposefully down here at the bottom of the screen. When you're in this lower vibration, you find it harder. Like the further away someone is happy and up at these higher frequencies, so joyful, grateful, in unconditional love, in unity, the further someone else is up on that frequency spectrum, up into 4th and 5th dimensions, the further away, the bigger the gap, the harder it is to perceive looking upwards. Let me ask, why is it easier to look down than it is to look up? she's showing me, she says it's a bit like looking, you know, when you're on the outside of some woods, right? Or a small forest. You can stand on the outside and look. You ever get that feeling, you know, when you kind of get the parallax of different trees like moving past you, like you're walking past, and you can often see really deep into the woods, into the forest. You get this kind of straight line trajectory, and you're like, oh, I can see really quite far. I can see like sometimes it feels like half a mile, right? And you're thinking that seems so impossible because all these trees and bushes and all these things. She says, so that's what it's like from looking at a higher vibration downwards. So you're looking from a clear, empty space, maybe a nice big open road. So up at higher vibrations, we have a lot more space and floaty, less clingy energy. So it's much lower density. Oh, sorry, much, yeah. The lower and higher bit gets confusing here. Often we describe lower density as third dimension, like heavy. So it's much lighter. So there's less density up there. And she says, and then the opposite's true. If you're the one in the forest, right, you're in the thick of the woods and you're trying to look out. If someone's quite close to the edge of the forest walking past, you might catch a glimpse of them, right? But she says, if they're the further away they are, if they're like past just the edge of the forest and further away, like you just really can't see. I've never heard that analogy before. I don't think I've ever asked for that question, and I will ask more about it. But let me know if that resonates for you. It's funny, Marita's got both my ears ringing real loud. And so that's gracious guidance. That's your question. Thank you so much for it. So Marita's asking me to move on to the next one. And so just randomly picking the next one. Beep, boop, beep, boop, beep, boop, beep, boop, beep. Okay, what's this? Oops, turn off the echo. What's this? This. This is from Indiana, LNDY. 22, and it says, could a brief wave of dizziness be an effect of earth changes? Prior to this year, I've never had any, but since the summer, there's been 2 to 3 short bouts per month. So John's answer is yes. In fact, I had one. I actually had one on film, on video. When was it? Must have been Wednesday last week when I was out doing a psychic tree talk. The very last tree, I got this that I touched, this boom, this big wave of dizziness. And I actually felt that for quite some time afterwards. And when I asked my guides afterwards about the tree and the experience, they said, yeah, that tree, they said it was on the kind of grounding path of the woods there at Brockwoods. And they said that often that tree is the most charged. It's almost like the forest puts all of the energy into that tree. And that when I connected with the tree, I'd received a lot of that energy. So this is actually the trees themselves. It's not just us humans. The trees also receive ascension wave energy. But let me ask specifically. Usually we don't do specific personal requests here, but I feel this is something that is happening to many. So let me ask for just opening up to those beautiful beings I've invited in for today's video. So Sol says, the sun says, yeah, please to be aware that it's funny because I've got my hand on the wall, whoa, just in case I get dizzy. But this feeling of, yes, be aware that the frequency may increase to sometimes 2 or 3 times a week of dizziness. And Sol is saying, over to, I wish I could do the voice. Over to Gaia. So Gaia is saying, she says, we've got this, people. She says, you've heard a couple of times from me today this is where our grounding practice come in, like walking barefoot on the ground, stone, sand, earth, grass, water, all these things, and setting the intention to release everything from you that doesn't serve your highest good deep into the earth. And just shake it out, do a little bit of dance, and ask Mother Gaia to transmute that energy. And so she will ground it, right? And she has her own grounding mechanisms. So do be aware that when this happens, like, take heed. Like, if you get dizzy, stop, right? Stop what you're doing and take a moment to ground yourself as soon as you reasonably can. If you're not in a physical situation, maybe you don't have mobility and you find it hard to move, or you don't have a yard or a garden to go out to, do it inside, do it in meditation, and really focus in your meditation and releasing energy. So just as I described doing it physically, just imagining yourself like a full cup of water, right? And you're just draining out that, it's actually dirty water. It's like the excess energy, and you're releasing it out of your body and deep into the earth and just shaking it all off. And don't worry, I know we've spoken a lot about anger and rage. This is all about releasing into the earth a very different energy. And this is the fertilizer, right? Where Sol is encouraging us all, pushing us to, in a very loving way, right? Encouraging us, say, you got to release this stuff, guys. Like, release it. Release what doesn't serve your highest good. This is a purge that's going on, not just outside of us, it's going on inside of us. So release anything that doesn't serve your highest good. Have a nice big open heart. And Gaia is saying, pay attention and look after yourselves. Drinking plenty of water that feels right, just the right amount that feels right for you, not too much, not too little. Getting plenty of rest, walks in nature, grounding, meditation, and pay attention to the foods, etc. Don't just run to your addictions, right? Of whatever food, drink, smoking, fear farmed videos, etc. Like, none of that stuff, because they will help you lower your vibration, but it's not the same as grounding. Really, if you want to continue to raise on your ascension journey, then keep focusing on becoming a clear, clean conduit, right? A clear, clean, cleansed, conscious conduit, lots of C's. So that you're just allowing this energy to flow through you. And that's why this gets easier. It does get easier, I promise you. Okay. And she says, and this is lovely, Maya doing some marketing for me. She's saying the 5D Ascension classes, pay attention to those. They, you just need to take a look at the homepage of my YouTube channel and you will see the 5D Ascension classes. There are playlists, or as now YouTube has this new feature called a course, and work through those videos. They're about an hour each, and they will really help you, like, doing a lot of things I'm talking about: grounding, releasing energy that doesn't serve your highest good, spiritual, psychic cleanliness and hygiene. Patch is groaning away and stretching. I think he's ready for me to stop talking, if you guys aren't. And yeah, there's also my free 14-day Spirit Guide Meditation Challenge. And you can also catch me live tomorrow, Monday. I will be posting out about the clock change. The UK's just gone through a clock change, so take a look out for any changes. I think it's just for a week that we're an hour different to US and Canada, for example. So keep an eye out for the 14-day Spirit Guide Meditation Challenge, 5D Ascension classes, live streams, and just continue to work into your daily practices, more empowering practices, right? And you can do this, right? My message to you is, if you're watching this video, likely there's some part of you that's starting to feel a bit more empowered, not necessarily because I'm helping you, but because you came here at all. And so I'm not just going to feed you fear, right? I'm not just going to tell you events like, you need to be scared, like big dramatic things are going to happen and we're all going to die. Like, no, that's not true, right? But we all have the opportunity to learn how to work through and to ride these changes, these storms, to take a deep breath, to open up our hearts, to face our shadows. All of this makes it so much easier. Okay, and that's true for me. In case you wonder why I'm so happy all the time, even though I'm often talking about some really deep, dark things, right? Okay, so let's bring today's session to an end. I'd like to thank our guides, our higher selves, Archangel Michael, Archangel Raphael, Source and Gaia, and every soul that's participated in today's session, and asking all of us to, and that includes Sol and Luna, every one of us to step outside of the shared session space and remain in our individual protective bubbles that close the shared space down and return to Source. Or never return here again. Get plenty of rest, drink plenty of water as it feels right for you. And please do keep in touch. You can book me for one-to-one sessions. There'll be a link turning up somewhere, maybe here, or get started with Jon. Try my free meditations. Check out the latest prediction videos in the playlist, and also anything that's the best recommendation for you in my channel and content. Thank you so much, and I'm sending so much love from Scotland. I love you. Bye.